Everyone says, go to therapy, get some help. It'll be great. And I'm talking about mental health therapy, obviously, since that's what we do at Hope for the Journey. But also, they say it for physical therapy, occupational therapy, psychiatrists, going to the doctor. All of these things are things we are supposed to do to get help. But how do you know when it's time to kick your provider to the curb? I'm Tracy Peary. I'm the owner and director at Hope for the Journey. We're a trauma counseling group in Texas. And I think that this is an important thing for clients to know because we get people coming to us that have spent years with providers that were not helping them. And gosh, it just feels like wasted time. So, how do you know? How do you know when it's time to move on when this isn't working? In my mind, there's two big things that can contribute, and it might be one or the other, or it might be both, that mean that it's a good time to start considering whether or not it's a bad fit for you. The first one is a personality match. When you go get help from someone, you should feel like they care and you should feel like they get you. That's a really important part, not just because of how it feels, but the research is very, very clear. When you feel that connection with your provider, you get better fast. And I know this is true for mental health. I'm making an assumption that it's true for other helping professionals. I haven't seen the research on that, but I would love to hear that if you're in those fields. But it makes sense, right? When I feel connected, I'm more motivated. The juices get flowing, and we're moving. We're getting momentum in our care, and it just works better. So that's one. If you are not feeling it with your provider, and I'm not talking about in the first 10 minutes, right? Sometimes it's a little bit slow of a fit, but definitely if you've been seeing them for 2, 3, 4 times and it just doesn't feel like a good fit, then that's a time to start going, The second thing is that if you have a trauma history of any sort, or if it's just not helping, and it might be because there's something stuck in the past, whether that feels like something you identify as a trauma or not, because oftentimes we go through and don't realize what's holding us back. But if you are having that situation and you're with a provider, even if they say that they are trauma informed, if it doesn't feel that way and things kind of keep getting stirred up for you when you're there, and you're not feeling better when you're there, I'm not saying that you should be cured in 2 to 4 sessions, but you should feel better, like things are starting, you've taken one step forward when you're getting help for things. And so if that is not there, it might be a good time to really start asking some questions about what their trauma informed actually means, what training they've had in it. There's not a lot of trainings out there for non-therapist providers. That's why we have developed our trauma sensitivity training for physical therapists, massage therapists, other helpers that are not mental health therapy therapists. But you know, there are pieces out there and you can learn it. You just have to seek it out. And so a lot of providers will say that they're trauma informed when they have just basics and maybe don't know how to apply it very well. So, what do you do when you start thinking that something is not right? Well, the first thing I would encourage you to do is to bring it up to your provider, because sometimes what's happening with that disconnect is that they just can't read your mind. And so, if you lean in and you allow yourself to have that uncomfortable conversation, and the provider listens, attunes, and responds in a way that's really helpful and makes you feel more confident, great. But if they don't, and it still feels icky, that's a really great sign to jump ship. And then that next step would be to find a provider that is more trauma informed. We've got a huge referral list. We're happy to help anybody that is looking for that. And of course, we've got our favorites, and our team has some openings too if you're looking for mental health. But that's just some things to think about when you are deciding if it's time to kick your provider to the curb. Thanks. And I hope that you have a great day. Go out and do some good in the world today.